Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are here with another video for the All About Riii mini-series, and today I just want to take the time to talk about domestic violence within relationships. Domestic violence is already something that affects so many people, but especially with this past year with the virus going on and everyone having to quarantine, domestic violence cases have definitely been spiking. So my personal story is something that not a lot of people know about me at all. Only my family and like less than a handful of super close friends even know about this. But I feel, you guys, that it is just time. You know, it's time to tell my story, and I have tried to record this a few times before. For various reasons it didn't work out, but now I feel as though this is the time. And so if domestic violence, relationships, and just knowing how I went through that and things that changed within my life due to that, please stick around and tune in for this video. So it has been, let's start with this. There's a few reasons as to why I want to talk about my domestic violence relationship now. First of all, it's because last month I had went on a trip with my little sister, and my ex had came up and she had said something, and my response was, you know, like obviously a little biased because of the situation that we had went through. And she turned around and she looked and she said, "He put his hands on you?" And then in my head, I was like, you didn't know? Because I genuinely thought, and we'll get into how it happened, but the way that the series of events went down, I assumed that my family members that I knew, I thought that they relayed the message to everyone else, but I guess that wasn't the case because a lot of people still don't know to this day what happened. Another reason why I'm deciding to come out now about this is because we are at the 3-year mark, you guys. Like, this January made 3 years since it happened, since the first event happened. So now I just feel like I'm at a point in my life where, you know, like I'm past it. I'm doing great. I'm prospering. I have no bad feelings for anybody at all. And let me just get into that too. The purpose of this video is not to bash anybody. It's not to put anybody down or to be putting blame on people or even for sympathy for myself, because I've never been that person. I'll never be that person. I'm not here for that. I simply just want to share my story in hopes that, you know, it can help somebody else, or, you know, just other people can relate to it, because it is something that's so common, but yet it's not talked about a lot. So let's just go into this. I just want to kind of tell you a little bit of background about me and this guy. We had started talking when I was in high school. Right when I started high school. Let's give him a name first of all. Let's call him X. Simple, let's keep it simple. Me and X, we had met when I was in high school. We used to be thick as thieves. Like, we were best friends. That's how it all started, you guys. Like, we were the best of friends. And anybody that knows me, like, I value my friendships and people in my life. I really do value that a lot. And so I'm very loyal to people around me, and that's that. So, you know, we started not dating. I wouldn't even call it dating. Let's get that very clear. From the very beginning, we were always best friends. We were never like in a romantic relationship. Like, as time progressed with our friendship, we did start like, you know, messing around a little bit, friends with benefits, but we were never like one-on-one in a committed relationship with each other. He always had like, you know, his own relationships going. I had whoever I was dealing with going, but in the end, like, we always communicated with each other and kept it like that tight. We never had an issue with our dynamic ever. We were both okay with the way that things were all throughout high school, you know, and then I graduated and I moved to another city. Long story short, X decided, not as soon as I moved to my city, but a little bit later, he decided like he was gonna move, him and his friends, whatever, just for work. Everybody at this point in our life, like, we just trying to get a bag, you know, like, we're trying to make ourselves better, trying to figure out what we want to do with our life. So that was what had brought us both to a new city, isolated from all of our family and stuff. When he originally came here, and I'm only telling these bits and pieces because it all plays into how we got to where we got. When he came here, he was supposed to be staying with a relative. One of his family members had lived here. So he was never supposed to be like living with me. He had a place to live. But since we were best friends, we did spend a lot of time together. You guys, like, we were together every single day. We did every single thing together. The only time we weren't together is like when we were going to work or when I had school. So as time started going on though, remember when I said like There was a little bit of time where he was not here in my city with me. So I was, you know, going to school. I was meeting new people. I was starting to like catch feelings and be involved with someone else, you know, but X and I were still best friends. I didn't want to lose him, but I knew like my interests were kind of shifting to where I wasn't all about X anymore. Like something else had caught my attention, basically. X knew about this new person that was taking my attention. Let's just call new guy. Let's call him Y. X for the X guy, and then we'll call Y. We're just gonna call him Y. So with X, basically what had happened was both of them knew about each other. Obviously they didn't like each other for obvious reasons, but there was no like real beef. So we got to a point where, and remember when I said we were never in a relationship, that was never our goal, and that never was like something that we did. But it started to get to a point where he started to like want to be in a relationship with me, and for various reasons I did not want that. I would always like give him a list of things. He'd be like, okay, like I want to be with you, da 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 da, and I'll be like, no, like you need to fix A through Z first, and then we can talk about getting together. And this was like a cycle. Like he kept saying it. I would say fix all these things, then come back to me. He would go work on those things, come back, same thing. And I think at that point, and he would always say like it just seemed as though like he was playing. Like I kept doing everything you asked, and like nothing was ever good enough. And I will give him that. That was very much true. Nothing was good enough, because at that point I was over it. Like I was mentally checked out, and when I mentally checked out, I was good on him after that. Like it was a series of things that were happening to make me get to that point, mainly because somebody else caught my attention, but also too because X was still talking to his ex-girl. Like don't act like we were both very open with each other and stuff. So it's like, don't act as though like you want to be with me so bad, but yet you're still like doing whatever you want to. Like, no, like that's not how it works. So that was how that went. Let's just talk about also too, when X, even though he was like staying with me every single day, there would be times where like if I wanted to hang out with Y, or if I wanted to hang out with my girlfriends, all I would say would be like, hey X, I have plans, I need you to go stay with your family member or whatever. And he would just be like, all right. Towards the end of our like time together, it started getting to a point where he would be like, no, like I'm not leaving. For example, there was one time me and Y was hanging out at the house. X hadn't even been there. Like he was at work, and like he wasn't even with me, but I was hanging out with Y all day, and X was like, oh, I'm about to come over. Like, I think it was, he wanted to get his Xbox or something. So I was like, all right, cool. Like me and Y, we're gonna leave. We'll go get some food. You can come by the house and get your stuff, but then I need you to leave. Like, okay. At that time, X's car was messed up. So also my friend, we're just gonna give her a name. We will call her, let's call her Jenna. So my friend Jenna, and she's a key player in this too, she was pretty close to me and X at that time. You know, she had just moved to the city as well. She was like she's my little sister, basically. So we were all spending a lot of time together. So X's car was messed up for whatever reason, and he needed to come and get his Xbox. So Jenna brought him to the house to get his stuff. I'm gone. It's like 30 minutes go by, an hour go by, and I'm like, yo, like y'all still not done? Can you get out so I can come home? He was like, I'm not leaving. Like, what's up? Like, y'all gonna have to both come here and see me, because I refuse to leave. And I'm like, what do you mean like you refuse to leave? And let's get something very clear. X wasn't paying no bills at my house. Not rent, not a light bill, not a cable bill, not a water bill. Nothing, like nothing. So for you to even think that you have the right to even have the thought come up in your head that you're gonna tell me what you are and what you aren't gonna do in my house, like you got me and your whole life messed up, okay? So I called Jenna. I was like begging and pleading. I was like, Jenna, please, because like at this point I'm about to come home. Like he about to piss me off to where I'm just about to come home, and if there's an issue, there's just gonna be an issue, because I'm not about to keep doing this. So eventually Jenna got him to leave, and I don't know how, but I'm so grateful for her for doing that, and they left. That was like one of the first issues. So let's move on to the first time that something actually happened. The first time he basically put his hands on me. And you guys, like, if I make any reaction that you might think is not like appropriate for the situation, please mind your business. Do not judge me, because it's been a long time and it's taken me a long time to like get to where I am now about it. So the actual like fights itself, it doesn't necessarily make me too emotional, but like there are times when I think about certain pieces that happen after the fact, like it'll get me a little emotional. I'm gonna try not to cry on camera, but if it does happen, So one night, me and ex, we were just hanging out, but then I was like, oh snap, like I started texting somebody else and I was like, oh, like I want to hang out with so and so. So I told ex, I was like, yo, I want to hang out with my friends tonight, can you please leave? And he was like, no, I'm not leaving, like I have to go to work in the morning. And I was like, dude, like I really don't care what time you have to go to work, like the simple fact is I want you to leave, you need to leave. And he was like, no, like go hang out with your friends out there in the front room, there's no reason as to why, like I have to leave. So I was just like, okay, whatever, like you're not about to stop me from hanging out with my friends, like so if you want to stay here, like whatever, stay here, but like don't bother me, okay? So my friend came, we hung out in the front room, da 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 da. And then afterwards, like, so let's just say when I decided I wanted to hang out with my friend, it was probably about 9 o'clock at night, probably 9:30 or so. So when he was saying he wanted to go to work, I kind of could understand, like if you already like settled and you just want to sleep, like I can understand because you have a job. So by the time my friend left, it was probably like, I don't know, like 11 something. I really don't know the exact times, but I was hanging out in the living room with my friend, he left. Then I went into my room, like where ex was, because like at this point I was like, let me just go ahead and like get ready for bed. You know, I'm ready to go to sleep, whatever. So ex appeared to be sleeping when I went in my room. He appeared to be asleep. So I grabbed like my towels and stuff and I went into the bathroom. When I went into that bathroom, y'all, like, I don't know how long I was in there, but the next thing that I know, out of nowhere, like the whole freaking, the whole shower curtain dropped to the floor. He choked me up so hard against the shower wall, and he was like, you think you gonna effing play with me? Like, you were not about to play with me. Like, I heard everything. I'm not effing stupid. Like, da 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 da, like going in. Like, he like yelled at me basically like I was his child or something. Dropped me. I hit the floor, and then I just remember like sitting there for the longest time. I just remember like I was lying on that floor for the longest time, just sitting there like crying my eyes out, you guys, like just crying for no reason. Well, obviously for a reason, but I couldn't stop crying. Like I just started breathing heavy and I just started crying because up until that point, like, and you guys, like, no man had ever in their life ever put their hands on me. I grew up without my dad around, so and then like my papa was around, but you know, he's older and stuff, so a guy had never put his hands on me. I got beat by my mom, but that's different. It's totally different. So I sat on there and I cried, and like the only thing that was going through my head is, what the F, like now I can't even take a shower because I only had one bathroom, and he like didn't even just yank the curtain, like he broke the whole thing down. Like, so I was like, dang, like now I can't even take a shower. I was just sitting there wet. So then I was like, okay, get up off the floor. Let me go grab my my towel, and like get up. So the way my bathroom is, it was like long this way, like this way. And then there was a door that came out to my bedroom. So I walked out the tub, and then like, sorry for my ugly ass hands, but I walked like out the tub and then like into my room, and it was dark in there, you guys. Like, it was dark. I assumed like he was back asleep, and as soon as I hit that freaking corner, dude, she yanked me up against the door again. Like one time wasn't even enough just to be yelling the same exact things in my ear. Okay, like at that point I was over it. I just got my shit and I went to sleep. Like, and after that, you guys, we definitely didn't see each other for a couple of months after that, because I told him, like, you crossed the line and I'm just done with you right now. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, you violated. Like, and another thing for me was just a simple fact of, you guys, like, oh, that's what it was. So he had he had a traumatic event that happened in his life to where the anniversary of that traumatic event was that like a couple of days, like probably like, okay, so the traumatic event anniversary was like the next day. Like, he choked me up on a Saturday night, and the anniversary for it was like on a Sunday, let's say that. So basically in my head, the only thing I was thinking was, he is so stressed out. Like, he's so stressed out and dealing with all these like issues as far as that, like to where he's not thinking straight. So in my head, I was like, that's why he did it. He did it because he's dealing with all this stuff, and he just probably had a lot of pent up like emotions, and he just didn't know how to handle it. So I just, you know, charged it to the game, and I really wasn't you know, which I shouldn't have done because I shouldn't have just I shouldn't have justified it the way that I justified it. But like I said, this was something that had never happened to me before. I didn't even tell anybody about that. Nothing. I didn't even mention it. Nobody. So this is the first time people have even heard that. They've only heard about, you know, the big thing. So that was that. And that was the first time it ever happened. We took a little break from each other. And then a few months later, we decided like, okay, we're just going to be hanging out. But after this, and then too, let me just put in there, we were no longer like sexually involved or anything for like months. Like it had been months, even before, like, you know, when I got choked up in the bathroom and stuff, we had like the sexual stuff that had been cut because like I said, I was mentally over it. And that's why I think like he knew. So, he had came back and we were hanging out in the room. It wasn't nothing crazy, nasty going on or nothing like that. We was literally just hanging out as friends. We was both on our phones, and we always had like each other's passwords and stuff. So it was never like a secret of like what was in somebody's phone. We always had each other's passwords, but we didn't go through each other's phones. That was the thing. He was sitting on his phone, and you know how like you just joke around with somebody and you just reach over and yank it? Like that's exactly what I did. He was just laying there. I caught him slipping and I just yanked his phone out of his hand. I didn't even go through it. Like I literally just yanked it, and within that 1 second of me yanking it, I could just tell like the light, it flipped in his head. Like it was on go after that, you guys. Like he switched. And when I tell you, he yanked my phone so fast out of my hand, and then he just went crazy. And as soon as he did that, I dropped his phone. Like I just remember I just dropped it. And I was like, I'm not going to go through your stuff. Like, can you please just give me my phone back? Because, side note, a couple of weeks prior, we did talk about it as best friends. And I did promise that I was going to stop messing around with a dude. And the reason I had told him I was going to stop messing around with Y is just because, like, Y was living a lifestyle that just is not, he was nobody that I needed to be messing around with at the time. So as a best friend, I can respect that because it was true. I shouldn't have been messing around with him. I knew better, and I shouldn't have been involved in something like that. So that he was right. I shouldn't have. So we did agree that I wasn't going to talk to him anymore. But, you know, like I just wasn't ready. Like I was like trying to cut him off because X and everybody else was telling me I should, but it wasn't because I genuinely wanted to. So I did keep talking to Y. Okay. So when X grabbed my phone that day, I was like, I know it's over. Like, I know it's over for me because I know he's going to look at my phone and he's going to see, like, I've been talking to him. So then he just started scrolling. Like, he started mushing me. Like, his hand just started pushing me, like, because he had one hand going through the phone and then the other one, he was, like, fighting me off because I was trying to get my phone. Like, I'm not playing. So I was, like, grabbing at him, trying to get my stuff. And he was, like, you know, he wasn't not doing nothing back. So I just remember we started tussling. We was tussling in the bedroom. That led to us going out into the living room. I'm not going to go into everything because we was fighting for a minute. I just want to hit on a couple of things. Really, the main thing for me was the verbal abuse, like, that he said during that time, like, out of nowhere. Because the first time he was just, like, mad, like, you think I'm stupid. But this time, like, he went in on me, myself, and my whole life, like, my character, everything. Like, all of a sudden, I was nothing. I would never be nothing. All of a sudden, I was a hoe. I was a B. I was a this. I was a that. All of a sudden, anything that could have been wrong, plus some more, like, plus extra than that, just throw all that in there because I was everything that day. That for me hurt because you're supposed to be not only like a guy that like you like me in that way, but also too, you're supposed to be my best friend. Like, we've been best friends since I was 14 years old. Like, and you mean to tell me like now this is what you really thought like this whole time? Next of all, you guys, like, in that fight, another thing that really pissed me off is, like, at one point I was on the floor and he had the nerve to, like, not even just baby kick me, but, like, you cocked your leg back to kick me in my stomach and I'm already laying on the floor after you freaking, like, grabbed me and dragged me by my head. And y'all, at that time, I had braids in my hair. And I got receipts. There's no reason for me to lie about anything. I still have the pictures in my phone I had bald spots in the back of my head, like, braids were hanging. Anybody that's ever had their hair braided, like, you know, like, this is an example, it's probably gonna sound funny, but like if you have like 4 strands of hair and one braid, like after he yanked it, it was like braids hanging on to one strand of my hair left, and then like there was also some that like came out. So yeah, I had bald spots in my head. And the kicker for me, you guys, you know, he already had a history of choking me, but the kicker for me was in this fight right here. At one point we went to my sunroom and he literally choked me with both of his hands. And at that point, like, I'm a healthy girl now, but I wasn't my smallest back then, like when all this happened. And he literally choked me with both of his hands and he lifted me all the way up off the floor, like lifted me by by my neck, like lifted my whole body. And now that for me was something I'll never forget, because in that moment he was looking me in my eyes and he just told me, he said, let me word for word because I'll never forget this. He said, I will kill you. I swear to God, I will effing kill you right now. Moment of silence, because like, and like that kind of has like my blood boiling a little bit just thinking about it, because like, you really gonna threaten to kill me? Like, seriously? Me? Don't, like, that junk was wild, you guys. Like, I had marks, like his whole handprints, I had them on my neck, and I'm not light skinned or anything like that. So if something gonna show up, then that means like you did it for way too long, and the bruises was there for a minute. So that was crazy. The tussling went back and forth for a long time. I eventually did get my phone back, and I did get to call my mom, and I called my mom, and I was just like yelling. I'm like, Mom, like, please come help me. Like, it will not get out. Like, he put his hands on me, like, and he will not leave. And my mom's just like screaming on the phone. She's just like, Mariah, like, call the cops. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to call the police. Like, I just want him to leave. Like, please help me. Now, you guys, like, that's one of those things, like, that's honestly something, like, I regret doing. I regret ever calling my mom, because for one, like, I feel like I caused her a level of stress that, like, it wasn't necessary. Well, it was, but at the same time, like, I'm in a whole nother city. They're hours and hours away from me. Like, if anybody walk off them, because they really can't do anything. By the time they get there to me, like, what good can they do? Like, so I regret it, because I'll never forget, like, the way I heard my mom's voice. Like, it'll never get out of my head. And I know that she was at work, and like, to get that call and you just hear like, oh my God, like, my baby, like, I feel bad about doing that to her. Okay, like, I really do. So then after that, it's just like, I couldn't get him to leave, and I didn't want to call the cops. And to, like, you guys, like, my neighbors, like, it's all cool, fine and dandy to have neighbors that don't call the cops on you and don't complain. But in that moment, like, I needed somebody to help me. Like, I needed help, and I was screaming for my life. I know that people heard it, and nobody said or did anything. And you guys, this is how I know how blessed and how favored I am. This is how I know. Earlier that week, I had messaged my friend Dante, and I already mentioned him in previous videos. I will always say his name because he will always be that mother right there, okay? So my friend Dante, earlier in the week, we had discussed, like, there was something that I was gonna give him. So he was like, okay, he stayed right up the street. He was like, I'll just stop by whenever, and then I'll come get it from you. He'll see my car, so he would know if I was home or something. Y'all, when I tell you, out of nowhere, it was knocking at the door, and then he just opened it, because the door was still unlocked, because like, while we were fighting and stuff, I had opened the door, and I was like, please, like, get out. Like, I was just like opening the door. I was standing there with it open, like telling him to leave. So it was already unlocked, and Dante came in, and he said, what's going on? And I said, Dante, like, he put his hands on me, like, I just want him to leave. And then X started like saying something, and Dante was like, no, you need to go now. You need to get out now. You guys, like, I will never ever in life thank Dante enough for this, because like, he really saved me in that moment when I thought like nothing would help me, like nobody was there. Like, Dante came out of nowhere, and he saved the day. And he told me, he was like, I could hear you all the way outside of my car. And I never even knew, but there was another one of our friends in the car with him, and he was like, she said like she didn't want to come in and be involved because we ain't know what was going on from what we heard. And I was like, Dante, like, I thank you enough, because he could have chose to turn around and walk away too. Like, he didn't owe me nothing. And the fact that he still came up there to check and see about me, I'll always see about Dante. Like, Dante, I love him more than life, you know? So after that, you guys, like, it was a shift. Like, oh, let me tell you one more thing. This man really like went outside. Let me tell you this, like, he went outside and called my mom, and had the nerve to tell her, hey, I put my hands on her because she is in relations with so-and-so kind of man, and I do not think she needs to be involved with him. Boy, are you dumb or are you stupid? Like, you really gonna call my mom and tell her the reason you put your hands on me is because I was talking to a guy that you didn't deem fit for me? Like, did you really just try to justify it? And like, to my mother? Now that for me, let's just say that the calling my mom and the words that he called me, for me, that was what made it extra hard for me to ever move on, because I feel like not only did you violate, but I feel like you broke my trust as a friend. Like, and that to me, I value that higher than the physical stuff. Like, to me, okay, like the hits and stuff, we can get over that. You know what I'm saying? Like the bruises will go away. Like I won't, feel that no more. But I was like, you seriously like violated the friendship. How can I ever even call you a friend again? Like, obviously now like my thoughts are different, but they still kind of like the basis remains the same. Like, it was the trust, it was the friendship broken for me, as to why like even to this day I can't be friends with you. Like, okay, so let's just say after that, the most stressful part was, and I'm just gonna like put this out here, and I'm not gonna say specific names because I don't got time for, that's not the purpose of this video, but I do want to be transparent with you guys. Some of my family members, after that phone call that he made, some of my family members really had the nerve to call me and say like, Mariah, like I'm so disappointed in you. Mariah, what did you do? Like, some people, like, okay, like somebody, they would act as though I didn't know that he called my mom and said that. So obviously when he called my mom and said that, she spread the word. So my thing is, when these people called me, they was acting as though I didn't know that he told my mom, because they were like, well, what happened to cause him to do that? Like, well, what did you do? Because people don't just change out of nowhere. So like, are you gonna like tell me what it is that you did? Basically fishing for me to admit like I'm messing with so-and-so kind of guy. What difference do it make? It don't matter if I was talking to drug addict off the side of the road. Like, it does not matter who I decided to engage in conversation with. He put his hands on me. That was a violation and it shouldn't have happened. So don't call me about da 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 da, what did you do, what you didn't do. The question you should be asking is, are you okay? Do you want me to come? Do you want me to come there? Do you need me to check on you? What can I do to help you through this? That's what you should have been asking. I forgive everybody from that situation because, like I said, I'm not holding nothing in my heart. I know that people do the best that they can with what they know at the time. It was just, I wish things would have been handled a little bit different on that end. What I will say is, though, I had one family member that I can say I felt fully supported and backed up through this whole journey with, because this family member, when it happened and stuff, they had called me and they were talking to me and like just really genuinely like asking like, am I okay? And I think too, it's because like you have to be in the situation or be super close to someone in the situation to even kind of like understand. Even being close to somebody isn't enough. Like, you have to go through it yourself to truly get like what that does to a person. Okay, so this family member, like, they were calling me and I told them like, my mom told me like, press charges, da 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 da, like, what do I do? And this family member told me, because y'all might be asking like, did you go to the police? This family, and the answer is no, I didn't. My family member had told me, she said, now Mariah, like, I know that they're telling you to go and press charges. All that I'm saying to you is just know, if you press charges on somebody, that person has the right to press those same charges back on you. And I was like, bro, like, in my head, I was like, I'm in nursing school. I'm trying to, get my BSCNA. I'm trying to work. Like, I'm trying to make it. Like, I was like, I cannot have a record. Like, that was the thing in my head. I cannot have a record. I cannot have a record. I cannot have a record. Nothing. Okay. Like, I was not playing about that. So I was like, you know what? Honestly, I don't want to call the police. I already didn't want to call the police because for what? I didn't feel like it would be much help. And then I didn't want to ruin somebody's life. I just felt as though if I put charges like that on somebody's name, like that would then affect the rest of your life. Like, so I just didn't want to do that. And that's how I am with a lot of things in life. No matter what somebody do to me, no matter how bad they do me, I would never try to get back at them in that same way or try to hurt them or hinder them in their life. Like, I'll just be good off of you, but I'm not going to try to like be vindictive. That's not me. So due to those reasons, I never went and reported it to anybody, like police-wise. And then that was it. And then old dude, like, he did end up moving back home. I didn't have to see him anymore. We didn't see each other. We did still text here and there, but it was really like, I was so confused. Like, I didn't know. I still loved him, of course. I still, felt connected to him, but it was like, I just didn't know how to move from that point. 6 months later, I did decide like I was ready to go sit and have a conversation with him. So I had drove back home because I was visiting family anyways. And then we went to a restaurant out in public. And as soon as I sat down, you guys, I hadn't seen him in 6 months. As soon as I sat down, I just started bawling my eyes out. Like I couldn't even think straight. And I thought that I was over it, but I wasn't. So we didn't even really have a conversation. I just started crying, went to the bathroom, and then we left. Also too, I just want to backtrack like some of the changes that happened after that major fight. So as you can tell, like I told y'all I had like the bruises on my neck and stuff. Y'all, that very next day, I still put on my stuff and like I went to work. Like I think that I had already been the type of person of no matter like what's going on in life, like I'm not gonna stop. But that like made it even worse to where it was like I no longer gave myself time to like heal or process or think. I just was always like, you gotta be on go. Like, it doesn't matter what happens. You can never stop. You can't drop the ball. Like, you gotta keep going. So it's like something like that. I feel as though I should have took a couple of days off of work. I feel like I should have really just sat there and like dealt with some stuff about it. But I totally like acted as though it didn't happen. I went on about my life. And then due to that, it started to show up in other forms because I was trying to mask it for so long. It was just dying to get out. You know what I'm saying? Like I went into such a major depression, you guys. Like I cannot even express enough. Like I can't express enough how like low I felt at that point. You know what I mean? Like, and the best way that I explain it to anybody that ever asks me is when domestic violence issues and things like this happen, you don't know what parts of yourself that you have to lose until something like that happens to you. That's the only way that I can say it. Things that make you who you are, like me being happy, me being funny, me liking the color blue, or me like I don't know if it makes sense, but on those simple like basic level of things that make you a person, all of it is just shattered. After that, it's like I don't even know who I am anymore. Like I don't even know who Mariah is. All I know is Mariah is broken. Like that was the only thing. I had no desire to do anything. I stopped taking care of myself. Like I started like eating so crazy. I started drinking so crazy. I started not going to school. I almost failed out. And that's a whole nother story for another time. I almost failed out of school because I could not think, you guys. Like I couldn't think. Even just trying to cope, like my thoughts were not straight. And then it's like, then I had additional stressors like my family and stuff. Like it was too much. It was too much, okay? But what I will say is, all in all, I am so thankful for that family member that checked on me. She kept checking on me. She always asked me, do you want to go to support groups? At one point, she even looked up support groups in my city for me, sent me the locations, the dates, the times, trying to push for me to just go talk to somebody. And that is something that I will never, ever forget in life. And I know that she's going to be watching this. And I just want to genuinely say, like, I thank you. I just want to say I thank you because I don't think that you know like the impact that you had on my life. Even though I didn't take the help that you were given, just know like it meant so much to me just to get that help, just for someone to say like, are you okay? Just for someone to give me options. That meant so much to me because like in that time, I really felt like I had no one, I didn't have anyone, you know? So it's, always check on your strong friends, like always. And I remember I used to get mad at my friends because I was like, y'all, I don't feel supported. Like, and I remember I used to tell them like, I just don't feel supported, but it's like, I don't even know how I want you to support me. I just know like, I don't feel it the way that I need to feel it. And it's one of those situations, they've never gone through domestic violence. They don't know how to be there for me when they don't know. And if I'm not telling them, it's kind of hard to figure out. So yes, so that's that. And I want to just say like one of the biggest things that I thank God for in this moment was sometimes like God has to strip you of everything in order to build you back up. Sometimes he has to take away everything that you know, everything that you're comfortable with in order for you to be uncomfortable and get some growth. Like in that time when I had nobody, in that time when I was on my lowest lows, literally, I couldn't call mom, I couldn't call grandma, I couldn't call best friend, I couldn't call brother, I couldn't call nobody. There was nobody that I could call on except for God, you guys. I had to learn how to pray. I had to learn how to really like get strength, draw strength from him, because there was a lot of things I was contemplating in life at that time that had it not been for God, like, and that's my testimony. Had it not been for God really stepping in and saving me, really stepping in and just wrapping his loving arms around me, you guys, I know for a fact I wouldn't be here. I know for a fact that I would not be here if it were not for the grace of God. So I just really want to say, like, no matter what it is that you are going through, if you are going through a domestic violence situation like this, just know it is not the end for you. Just know that it is a stepping stone, and just know like there's always a reason why things happen. And that's not to say like you just need to tough it up and, you know, whatever, but know that God always has a purpose for your life, and every like bad thing that you go through, it is for your greater good in the end. Okay, like even now in the moment I didn't understand while I was going through it, but right now I understand. Like I'm able to use my voice, I'm able to use my story in order to help somebody else. And also too, it's like at that moment it felt like crap, but I thank God now, because had it not been for that, I would have never got closer to God. I would have never knew, because that, and then when people say, oh, with religion, like you only believe because your parents told you to believe, that was one of those defining moments for me. It was no longer because someone had told me, it was because I knew for myself, had it not been for him, where I could have been, you know. And so I'm just gonna cut this video right here. It's been kind of long, and I am sorry for like getting a little bit emotional, you guys, but I just want to be genuine and real with you guys. Okay, so thank you all for listening to my story. I didn't go too much into it. I think I might save a part 2 for this video when I talk about, you know, later on he did try to like come back into my life, and I can tell y'all a little bit more about my healing journey, how I was able to cope and deal with it. But I just kind of wanted to just let y'all know how that happened for me, and you know, some of the benefits, like some of the gains that came from it. So you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank y'all so much for tuning in so long and listening to my story. I hope that I was able to help at least one person. If y'all ever need anyone to talk to, please drop it in the comments down below. If you need to email me, email me. Just know like you are not alone. I love to talk. I love to listen, and I am here for you, okay? So I will see you guys next time.